This is part 4 of Natalie's story. If you haven't heard the other 3, go back and check them out. And make sure to like and subscribe for more. Natalie stood frozen in front of the double, another version of herself. The creature moved with weird familiarity, but its eyes were cold and distant. "You shouldn't be here," it said calmly, "but I knew you'd come." Natalie backed up, her hands against the door frame. "What is this?" she demanded. "I'm what was left behind," the double said, its voice soft and chilling. "The version they kept while you wandered through the walls." Her breath hitched. This isn't real," Natalie whispered. The double just smiled. "None of this is real. At least not in the way you think. You were never lost. You were just rerouted." Natalie's hands balled into fists. "Why me?" "You were perfect. Perfect subject, isolated, aware, perfect. Afraid enough to avoid the door, but curious enough to search for it." Suddenly a TV flickered on, showing images of a younger Natalie entering an apartment for the first time. The screens multiplied, showing every moment of her life, a constant loop. "They've been watching you," the double murmured, "mapping you, analyzing your fear responses." "Who are they?" Natalie asked her doppelganger. The doppelganger raised an eyebrow. "You still think it's people? You really don't get it." The double pulled out a small device and held it against the wall. The plaster shimmered, revealing a massive chamber beyond. A dome filled with machines, pods, and sleeping people? "Subjects," the double explained. "Or passengers, depending on who you ask." Natalie gasped. Her mind spun. "They're all what?" "Subjects of an experiment. Or maybe passengers. Passengers on a journey that bends reality itself." The walls seemed to pulse with life. The dome shimmered with timelines. Different versions of Natalie in different situations. "You've been a part of the test," the doppelganger said. "Every choice you've made, every step you've taken. An experiment in how far reality can bend before you break." "Why?" Natalie asked, trembling. The double looked at her as if she should know. "Because eventually someone won't break. And when that happens, it's over." Suddenly the room shifted, lights flickered, and eerie shadows moved in the distance. "Time to go," the double said, placing its hand on Natalie's chest. The world folded in on itself, and all of a sudden the house was gone, and Natalie was just left standing on a street corner. She looked down at the Polaroid in her hand, an image of herself standing in the center of the dome, surrounded by sleeping versions of herself. And behind her, shadows gathered, hundreds of other versions of herself. Natalie walked through streets, but everything just felt wrong. She saw familiar buildings, her old apartment, but no one looked quite right. In a convenience store, she found a postcard of her own building. On the back, written in the same strange script as the Polaroid, "We are still connected." Her world seemed to shift. People were out of sync. Their smiles seemed to linger just a little bit longer than they should have. A man on a bench whispered, "Do you hear the humming yet?" She kept walking. That night she found herself back in the hotel room and everything was normal. But the mirror had vanished, replaced by a blank panel. A knock on her door came. 3 slow raps. She opened it, but no one was there. The hallway was empty except for a black package that lay at her feet. Natalie opened it to find a picture of herself sleeping in bed, and on the back, coordinates to who knows where. She left the hotel, got in her car, and followed them until they led her to an abandoned shed. Inside, she found notebooks filled with observations about her movements, her routines, her eating habits. It was the same handwriting as the note she'd received weeks ago. As she sat in the shed, the walls shuddered and the hum returned. Her phone buzzed. Messages scrolled too fast to read. The screen went black. Natalie felt trapped. She grabbed the notebooks and ran towards the nearest town. But something was wrong. The streets felt fake, like part of a dream. She stopped at a diner, but the waitress's smile was too knowing. When she paid, the receipt said, "You're early." She left quickly, but in the rearview mirror, a figure sat watching. The figure's voice began behind her. "You were supposed to last longer." Natalie's mind raced. "What do you want?" The voice replied, "It's not about what we want. It's about completion. Natalie slammed on the brakes, and when she turned back, the seat was empty. As she walked down a desolate road, the hum grew louder. Her phone buzzed. An image popped up taken of her moments before. She wasn't alone. She never was. She got back in her car and just started driving as far away as she could get. Her reflection blinked, but she didn't. And she knew then with certainty that something was following her and waiting for her to make the wrong move. Days later, she arrived at the hospital. No sign of surveillance. But the moment she saw the nurse's hand tattooed with a very familiar symbol, she knew she hadn't escaped. 3 days later, the nurse didn't return. A man appeared in her place, quiet, unshaven, eyes that didn't seem to blink enough. He wore no name tag and said nothing as he checked her vitals and then left. But he made sure she saw the key card clipped to his pants. The same triangle with a circle around it. Natalie no longer believed in coincidences. That night, the cameras in her room shifted. She noticed it during a lightning flash outside. One of the cameras, previously pointed away from her bed, had been shifted towards her. When the power flickered and the emergency lights kicked in, she moved. She grabbed the IV pole, slipped the line from her arm, and ran barefoot into the hallway. No alarms, no guards, just a dim corridor that seemed to grow longer with every step. She passed doors that were marked with single letters, R, S, T. When she passed V, it opened without a sound. Inside, a chair, a screen, a voice that said, "You're almost finished." She backed out slowly and kept going. At the far end, a steel door with no handle, just a hand scanner and a keypad. She pressed her hand against the glass and nothing happened. Then she typed in a date, October 3rd, 2017, and the keypad blinked green. The door slid open. Beyond it, nothing, a black void. A silence so complete, so enveloping it made her ears ring. But she stepped through. The sensation was like falling and flying all at once. Every cell in her body unraveling and rewriting itself in midair. When she landed, she was in her old apartment exactly as she'd left it. The couch, the radiator, the bookshelf. But something was off. The light was too flat, too gray. It felt wrong. She walked to the window and looked outside. There was no street, just darkness, like the world had ended at the edge of the glass. On the floor beside her couch was a Polaroid of her standing at the window, holding a Polaroid she hadn't picked up yet. She dropped it, and the moment she did, the apartment shimmered. The couch blinked out of existence, and the walls stretched wider. Then they shrunk back as the hallway returned, but backwards. The numbers on the doors reversed, and she ran. She didn't even know where she was going, only that she had to get out. But every hallway fed into itself. Every stairwell brought her back to the same floor. She finally burst through a service door and found herself outside. Morning light, cars, people, real, tangible. She collapsed on the sidewalk. A woman knelt down beside her and asked if she was okay. Natalie looked up, blinking against the sun. "What day is it?" "Tuesday, July 9th, the woman replied. Somehow it had only been 2 days. The woman helped her to a bench, gave her water, called someone. Minutes later, an ambulance arrived. Natalie didn't resist. She let them check her, scan her, ask questions she didn't answer. As they loaded her into the back, she caught a glimpse of a man passing through the scene. He looked familiar. Tan coat, clean-shaven, eyes that didn't blink enough. He made eye contact with her and smiled. A small, knowing smile. Then he turned the corner and vanished. Natalie left the hospital the next morning. No hidden cameras, no signs of surveillance. No one to stop her. There were no unexplained messages. There was nothing unusual, but she decided not to go home. Instead, she decided to move. Somewhere further away, somewhere quieter. She bought a small cabin near a lake. No internet, no neighbors. And for a while it worked. She slept, she breathed, she healed, until one morning she found a photograph in her mailbox. No stamp, no envelope, just a Polaroid of the lake behind her cabin. It was taken from inside of her house. She stared at the photo for a long time and then turned it over. On the back, in faint pencil, were the words, "You never left." What do you think about how this ended? Let me know in the comments and make sure to like and subscribe for more.